There we go. I think you get started now.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. Dennis Smeltzer. I'll be your host for the webinar today. With us also Paul Esch, the president of TSANet. He'll probably chime in on a couple things. We'll do a little tag teaming as we go through the presentation. This presentation has been one that has been very popular throughout the years, and this one is proved out to be the same. There's a lot of people joining us today, and I got a chance to take a look at the list of who's coming in. And I think the reason is, this is one of these things you hear about TSANet. Yeah, I think I know what they do. I'm not too sure about it. So obviously the idea here is we're going to walk you through what it is and a little bit of what it is not. There's some things that have changed just over the last year that we made some improvements to our membership model. So we're gonna walk through that, and we're actually going to go in and show you how it's used, how you place a call, et cetera, that kind of thing. So kind of like we said, right? This is the intro to TSANet. I start out every presentation with a slide like this, or at least talk about the fact that we are a not-for-profit association. I think it's extremely important for you all to understand this is your organization. You're the ones that drive the strategy, what we do, all of that. And the more that you can get involved in it, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, the better we think this makes this. This organization's been around since 1993. So there's obviously a reason that it's lasted that long, and it looks like we're moving forward with even more members than we've ever had before. So constantly looking for things that we can help, that you can provide your customers, that makes the whole experience better for everybody. So that's the whole idea of this, and the more involvement you have, the better off it'll just make the organization in general. If I'm to say what we do, right, what do we provide? Here's the bullet points, right? We provide this legal framework. I think it's not emphasized enough that what we do is we have a code of conduct that has a confidentiality statement in it that applies to everybody. But there's a foundation set of legal documents that we have, and then we have the ability for you to create your own relationships on top of that foundation. So it's not like we're saying TSANet is tied into this kind of relationship or that kind of relationship. In fact, it's the opposite of that. We can do a lot of different things, and you'll see what we can do, but it's all established on this base level code of conduct that every member signs and agrees to the same code. We just went through the past couple of years ISO certification. So I know for a lot of companies, and this is becoming even more and more important for data security standards and things like that, that they want you to make sure that you're in good shape on that. So we've gone through, we've got our ISO 27001 as well as the 27701, which gets you into the P2 data and GDPR and things like that. So we've been certified through that, and certainly plan on keeping that up for the foreseeable futures going forward. We've got some knowledge exchange stuff that we'll talk about that, as well as some best practices. We'll walk you through. There's a lot of stuff on our website. We'll touch on that just a little bit. And then the other thing that we're going to get into just a little bit has to do with some of the members that are on here run their technology partner programs through TSANet. Again, I think it's something that a lot of companies do, but I wish more members did it, because I think it saves you a lot of money and a lot of headaches. It's basically a very easy way for you to be able to pull in your partner, be able to establish a collaboration mechanism with them to support your mutual customers. And we've got a lot of companies that do that, and I certainly would like you to see more do that. As far as the relationship structure is concerned, when we started out TSANet, the whole idea was we would have this big ecosystem, and these companies would come into this ecosystem, and as long as their other partners were in that ecosystem, that automatically established a relationship with them. And you can imagine, well, so you've got this big company, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of competitors that are in there, there's a lot of partners that are in there. So we had to put some parameters around it that said that in these kind of relationships, there had to be a mutual customer involved. Otherwise, there was not an obligation for a member to be able to collaborate with another member. So that still stands true today. That's where we get into the standard, premium, and elite members. They all participate in what we call this open group relationship that must involve a mutual customer. There are other relationships that you can do, as I've mentioned before. And I will come back. Before I do that, let me just talk a little bit about the difference between some of these other relationships between elite and standard and premium has to do with the response level for a ticket. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit later, but that's the difference. And I've actually got a chart that shows some of the options for all the different levels. On the right-hand side of this is where we get into this partner program, and it's kind of what I was referring to, where you've got the ability to set up all sorts of different types of relationships through TSANet. It doesn't necessarily have to involve a mutual customer. Some companies will come in and set up a one-to-one strategic relationship with another member, or there might be a solution support model that they want to do where they've got everybody needs to collaborate with everybody else. I mean, we've got them all over the place. So what I think the takeaway out of this is for you to understand that this is a relationship infrastructure that you can use to do all sorts of different things. There shouldn't be any, well, yeah, TSANet requires this. And we actually don't require that. It's up to you to establish that relationship and just use the TSANet infrastructure to be able to implement that. So this slide is kind of the overview of the TSANet Connect platform. This is collaborate with another company. How do you make that happen? Or if another company wants to collaborate with me, how does that happen? And this is where it's important to understand what TSANet is as well as what TSANet is not. The big takeaway out of this is understand that it is a mechanism for you to be able to submit a support request to another member company, for them to be able to acknowledge that request and then tell you how they want to collaborate with you. TSANet then steps out of the process. It's not a separate CRM system. You do not go into TSANet and close out tickets. We do a lot with some of the companies that want to integrate into their CRM systems as far as how does that case come in? Maybe it comes in and it opens up a Salesforce ticket, or you can go back on a ticket using your Salesforce system or your CRM tool or whatever it is through TSANet. But TSANet itself, as the TSANet Connect platform, is an email-based system, and most companies actually use it in that fashion, where an email comes in, you're going to acknowledge that ticket, tell that other company, this is how we're going to work with you, and this is how we're going to move forward with this collaboration. We'll collect some metrics, so we can give you the ticket numbers on both sides. You'll see how that works here in just a minute. But as far as any customer data, sensitive customer data, any of the collaboration details, all that kind of stuff, you're going to track that in your own CRM system. You're not going to track that in TSANet. It is not for that purpose. And this is kind of an example, and we're actually going to walk through this a little bit more of exactly how it works. So every company has their own landing page. They'll come in, they'll be able to, you'll have the engineers will already be pre-populated into that. It could be single sign-on. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. But essentially, they're going to come in, pick the company they want to collaborate with, and then that company is going to be able to you're going to pull up a form. Your information is already going to be put in here as far as who this is, because the engineer's information is pre-populated. But again, what you're doing here is submitting a ticket request. So all you're doing is putting in enough information to tell that other member company, hey, this is what my problem is. This is who the mutual customer is that's involved in this, and then submit that ticket. Right. That then goes off to the other company. They're going to process that. They're going to come back to you and tell you, okay, well, before they do that, you're going to get an email. The engineer will get an email that says, here's a summary of what I did. And if you have problems, here's an escalation path for you to follow. And then they will get an email back from the company that says, okay, here's your case number. Here's how we're going to work this issue. This is how I want you to work the issue. And this is how we're going to collaborate further on this. And then again, the escalation information is put in there. And that's where TSANet kind of steps out of the way. We'll record some of that information. We've connected the two endpoints. You guys are working together and you're moving forward from there, right? So any sensitive information or anything like that, you're going to track that within your CRM system or the other member company's system and whatever details they want you to track that in. So let me give you another example, kind of how that works in real time. So I'm going to go over here to a test company. Pull it up. Whoop. So I've logged in here as a test company, and I'm just going to come in and pick a company. We'll pick, we'll do VMware. And just like it shows you there, so my information is pre-populated in here. And then so obviously the customers called me first. So what I would do is I would put in what my case number is. I'd put in the problem information that would give the receiver on this as much information as possible to be able to entitle the issue. And what we've done with a lot of companies and a lot of companies that are on this call today is we've created these custom fields. So in this case with VMware, they're going to want to know what product it is so they can then in turn send that ticket on to wherever it needs to go to work the issue. So they're going to ask you more about the product. That information is going to flow directly in. A lot of companies will put in, okay, here is a serial number that I need, something that would help them entitle that to make that whole process streamline a little bit. And one of the things that we added this past year was another option that on the receiving end, if they needed some more information, they'd be able to go back and do that electronically without having to start all over again or saying, no, I can't work with you because I didn't get enough information. You can now go back and say, this is the information, I need a little bit more. And so that option is there. Again, if right in here, this is another standard field that if the customer already had a ticket open, they could put that case number in there, and then obviously that would help the receiver to go, okay, I know exactly where this needs to go because we've already got a case open on it. And then the priority here, I kind of mentioned this at the very beginning of it. This has to do with the relationship that you're involved in, and this is acknowledgement of that support ticket. So what we do between our membership levels, and I've got a slide on this that shows the 24/7 versus the next business day relationship in the membership levels, but that's a requirement for acknowledgement of the ticket. What happens here is the ticket's going to come in. You're probably going to work this issue. The receiver's going to work this issue from an SLA perspective based on the customer's entitlement. But this, from a TSANet perspective, is just saying that before all these automatic escalation processes are put in place, before TSANet gets involved in actually calling the member and say, hey, why didn't you acknowledge this case? This is what the SLA is going to be for that relationship. And I'll kind of walk through that a little bit more as well. But that you kind of get the idea, and then you submit the ticket and away it goes. And then that engineer is going to get back acknowledgement of that ticket. And then they're going to hear back from that company and say, this is how we're going to work the issue from this point forward. Okay. So let me cover a couple other areas here. This was the one that I was talking about where we go through the different membership levels. Nearly everybody on here is one of these membership levels. I think there's a couple of people that are actually limited members, but in the standard TSANet, again, that collaboration with a 24-hour SLA, that's acknowledgement of that ticket. They're going to get all of these options here. I mean, there's a lot more to it. I'll talk a little bit about some of these. And they have the ability to get into these partner programs and invite existing members. So if you look at our membership, a lot of our members are what we call limited members, which means they have come into a relationship because another company requested that they do that. They came into a one-to-one relationship with that host company. They're still members. They've signed the code of conduct. Very easy for any of these membership levels to be able to establish a relationship with that the other member, even though they might be just in a one-to-one relationship. You get into the premium membership. Now we're talking about a requirement for global collaboration, as well as that 24/7. And then you get into the enterprise level SLAs. I think it's 4 hours, 2 hours in a P1, 4 hours in a P2, next business day in a P3. So you'd have that option to be able to submit those different SLAs when you submit that ticket. Premium, you also have the option. A lot of companies, instead of having their engineers have separate accounts, which isn't necessarily really a difficult thing to do, but a lot of companies use single sign-on. It's very easy for us to tie that in to TSANet, so they don't have to mess with that. And then this critical escalation is something that we just introduced. This is beyond that standard escalation that we just talked about. This gets into a little bit more of, hey, this may involve my VP. It's a very critical customer. We've got money involved in this thing. I need to escalate this up to where we're even beyond the standard support escalation. We need to get the big dogs involved in this. So that's a new thing that we've involved for premium and elite members. Have all of these options. Plus, these are the ones that create the the limited members and get into their partner programs. So we've got that, as well as we've got success managers where we're going in and talking to them about other things they can do with TSANet. We co-brand a lot of the partner program activities and things like that. They can also be on the board. This is obviously our highest level of member, is our elite membership. One of the things that we changed, if you've been around TSANet for any time, well, we used to have it separated out in Americas, EMEA, and APAC, and we've gone away from that now. So everything that you see here is on a global scale. So if it doesn't matter where you're at, it doesn't matter how many engineers you want to have to get into the system, it's unlimited amount of people that can get into it. A little bit more about the features. This is something we've been doing now. I think we're coming up on a couple of years, and this is open to all the different membership levels, where we've gone in, and it's a very technical thing. It's meant specifically for the engineers, and we might have, I think, examples of VMware, um, Red Hat, Nutanix have come in and they've talked about some of the tools that they have to help troubleshooting. So it's a very technically focused type of thing, and it's worked out really well, something that we host, and we invite those. Paul will talk a little bit about where you can go see some of these other sessions that we've already have. But this is something that certainly you're invited to participate in. And it's actually global, including in some sessions have been Japanese language only as well. Again, TSANet Connect, what I would emphasize here would be the fact that it is an API-based system. The call volume doesn't necessarily justify a lot of work with integration into a CRM system, but in a lot of cases, it's pretty easy to make it more of a standardized, streamlined process that the engineers are going through. So we certainly will work with you to integrate that into your CRM system, make it easy for you. Custom fields is a very easy way to do that, where we can go in and add these custom fields. So when that flows in, you know what product is involved in it, or even what serial number it is, that kind of thing. So we can do that. We want to make it easy for you to be able to integrate this into your workflow. We get it that when the engineers have to step outside of that box, it can be a problem. So we've done as much as we can to make sure that that we're moving forward with that to make it more part of the process. And then again, this is something that's also been very, very popular, is our regional focus groups. We've got these all over the world. We just had one in North America. It was virtual up in Seattle, where we got hyperscalers involved in it. And we've got another one coming up in Europe. We've got them in India, as well as Japan and Australia. So if you want to be involved in this, this is more on a business strategic kind of level. I wouldn't say it's necessarily for the engineers that would get a lot of value out of this, but definitely the business managers would get a lot out of it. Talking about anything from customer satisfaction surveys and how that's done, and the reports that are put up, all the way to how we're coming out of the pandemic and how are we doing training and all that kind of stuff. It can be very strategically focused. And we find, as you would typically with a lot of organizations, that, hey, everybody seems to have a lot of the same problems. And this is how we attacked it. And this is how we solved it. How did you do this? And how did you work this particular issue? So a lot of back and forth. It's a really good networking opportunity. Paul can talk a little bit about how you can get more involved in these regional focus groups. And we really invite you to do that. I think it's another big part of the membership that we'd like everybody to take advantage of. Single sign-on, I mentioned that, premium and elite members, if you're at that level, we found it actually pretty easy to get you signed into single sign-on TSANet. Usually we've even done it in a couple hours, although some people want us to go through a little bit more of a process to get that done. But we've been very successful at getting single sign-on integrated into a lot of companies. If you're not on single sign-on and you're a premium level or above, certainly invite you to do that, to make it easier for the engineers to get to TSANet. Again, I touched on this a little bit. This is for premium and elite members. This is where we're taking it up a level. And when we started this whole program, the idea was to make sure that this wasn't going to be, yeah, your typical escalation. So you may have teams that are identified to do this. We want to get those people involved in it, but sometimes when it involves another partner, that's where it really gets can get messy if the customer sees that you guys aren't working together. And if you get into one of these really high level situations where it's one of these critical customers, this should help you get the right people involved at the right level to say, hey, we've got a problem, we need to work this. There's a lot of skin in the game for both of us here, so let's make sure that we get together, we can put our best foot forward in front of the customer. So again, I would, if you're a premium or elite member, this is something that just come out. We're starting to push this as part of that whole success manager thing. But we want to make sure that you can participate in it if this is something of interest to you. The partner programs, I talked about it. There's a lot of companies that are on here that do these partner programs. I would just say this is a really easy way to justify whatever fee you're paying through TSANet, because this is a no-brainer for you to establish a collaboration mechanism with your partners. We create a landing page. They come in, they sign up. They can either, you can pay for their membership or they can pay for it. And boom, you've got that collaboration mechanism between that. And it can be something that's even outside of a large partner program. It could be just 4 or 5 partners that you've got in a particular relationship. We create that relationship for you, create one of these landing pages. They come into it, boom, they're part of it. So a lot of companies you see over here on the right that are taking advantage of this. This can be anywhere from a few strategic partners up to hundreds of partners that are involved in a partner program. So if you're not taking advantage of this and you've got partners out there, I'd really get a hold of us, because we might be able to save you a lot of money and a lot of headaches, because it's an easy way to get set up with your partners. And again, right, we take this beyond just that traditional, hey, there's always a mutual customer involved. This could be something different than that. This could be a solution support environment where you're doing something well outside of where it involves the mutual customers already been identified, or you're doing first level support, or you're doing third level support, whatever that happens to be. Again, what I would emphasize is don't look at TSANet as, oh, there's always got to be a mutual customer involved. Far from it. You can actually create your own relationships through the model to do whatever it is that you need to do. And again, integrations, if you're not doing that, again, look at what some of these other companies are doing, and we're integrated a lot into to all sorts of different CRMs. Seems like Salesforce is one, ServiceNow is another that's out there. So we're starting to look at maybe even doing some things with Teams and Slack, some of those kind of things that we're always looking at doing. I'll let Paul may want to chime in and talk a little bit more about that. And again, the success manager, talk about that. If you're an elite member and we haven't reached out to you, we've been trying to do that with all of our elite members. You can certainly reach out to us, and we'd like to sit down with you and really go through in detail any of these kind of things, from the critical escalation piece to more integration to the partner programs, whatever it is that we can do to help you utilize your membership in TSANet better. We'd like to help you with that. There is a ton of stuff out there on the website. Everybody's going to get a copy of these slides that was on this. And let me turn it over to Paul. Anything that you want to add at this stage?
I think you covered it extremely well. I would say maybe if there's a couple things that I would just really emphasize. The first would be the regional focus groups. I think everybody that's really involved with those, we hear a lot of positive feedback. It's a great opportunity to network and just kind of stressing there. You may be discussing topics that aren't purely multi-vendor support, right? So, for example, the Europe session they've got coming up, they're going to be talking about AI in support. So sometimes it's just general support, best practices, and things that the regional teams want to talk about. So if you're not involved in a regional focus group, please send me an email. You just send it to paul@tsanet.org, and I'll get you linked up with the right regional focus group. So highly, get you involved in those. The technical knowledge exchange, you can get that from the main page on TSANet Connect. You can also get to that from tsanet.org, but you'll see that there. And again, the regional focus groups is really where we get input on what additional technical sessions should we have. So again, those regional focus groups are a great opportunity to give feedback and really kind of push the direction of TSANet. And then probably the last thing, yep, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was just gonna mention the recording.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So probably the last thing I would stress, and I think Dennis, you did a good job on it, is please don't look at TSANet as a one-trick solution, right? Oh, this is kind of, we use it as an exception when we don't really know if we have a relationship with a partner and we kind of meet in the market, so to speak, right? I think that's classically what TSANet has been viewed at, and certainly it's a great solution for that, right? But as Dennis indicated, with the partner programs, solution support models, it can be so much more. So don't be viewing TSANet as, oh, this is a common customer, exception-based collaboration, and hey, if we have a strategic relationship, we kind of need to do that ourselves. Look for TSANet as, hey, this is how we collaborate with all of our partners, and again, we can set up whatever relationships, workflows, processes that are required to enable that. So definitely look at it from that angle.
I don't see any messages, or anybody have anything. You can quickly put it in chat if you'd like.
Yeah. And I think you can also come off mute if you want. I think we auto muted you, but if you did want to come off mute and talk instead of chat, you certainly could do that as well. Of course, if you had any follow-up questions, you could just send email to Paul or Dennis at tsanet.org.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple as that.
Okay. I think we covered it pretty well, I guess. So.
Okay.
All right. Thanks everybody for
Yep.
coming in. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.